You are Locked On MLB Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. What are we even looking at here in terms of history? Welcome, Locked On sports fans, to the Locked On Podcast Network, Locked On Marlins Postcast, Locked On Dodgers Postcast. The game is still going on, but we have such an epic day to talk to you about in Miami. Jim Greasehaber at @JimGrease_. Pete Fox of the Locked On Dodgers Postcast. I, of course, Locked On Marlins, and there you see it on your screen. It almost doesn't look real, Pete, if we weren't watching this game. And you said it. You said it yesterday, and you said it the day before. Ohtani will get the 50 home runs while they're in Miami. It'll come in bunches. I said he's not going to do it tomorrow. He needs 2. And you said, don't be surprised if he does. All he's done today, Shohei Ohtani, are you ready? 6 for 6, 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 10 RBIs, and a whole lot of Major League Baseball history for Shohei Ohtani. What a game. What a player.
It is unbelievable. I mean, the flair for dramatic that this dude has, if there's a Hollywood script that is lying in the box score somewhere, it seems like Shohei Ohtani is going to take advantage of that opportunity. But today, I mean, he has taken it to a whole nother level. You brought it up. First of all, you said, well, I don't think Shohei's going to get up again. And I said, yeah, you're right. They got to get 4 more guys up. And
that was when Muncy was up with 2 outs in the top of the 9th.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He did get up.
And Muncy
again.
hits what, 7th or 8th? I mean, he hits 7th and Ohtani's leadoff. So 2 outs.
No, Muncy was 6th today. So Lux came up
more hitters,
tailored to get back to the top. And lo and behold, he did get up again with 2 aboard and hit his 3rd home run of the game, 10 RBI, 19 total bases. I mean,
unbelievable.
Then you said it's, kind of sarcastically, is this the greatest day at the plate for a professional baseball player in the history of baseball? And I kind of laughed saying, well, it's up there, but I'm sure there are bigger ones.
It's the best. It's the biggest.
It is the biggest day in the history of Major League Baseball.
It beats Sean Green. Sean Green had 4 home runs, 6 runs, 7 RBIs, and 19 total bases. Well, Ohtani had 3 homers, but he had 19 total bases and 10 RBIs.
It is wow. It's just unbelievable. And the thing to me about it that is remarkable is it seemed like, and we talked about this yesterday, that there are times when I'm looking at Shohei's swing and I think he's trying to hit a home run. And sometimes that puts the pressure on him and he comes up empty when he's trying a little bit too hard. Today, it didn't seem like that, right? It felt like at first, his first at bat, yes, he did have a home run mentality and nearly hit one out his first at bat with a double off the wall to start the game, came around and score. And then in his second at bat, he had like a half swing, just punching the ball into the outfield. Not a home run swing at all, hitting in the situation. Same thing in his third at bat, a 2 RBI double where he had runners in scoring position. He was trying to hit into that situation, and he did. And then the 4th and 5th and 6th at bat, he was just like, hey, I'm just trying to hit for the cycle at this point, which he was this close to hitting for the cycle because he got thrown out trying to stretch a double into a triple. So just a unbelievable, remarkable, day that, you'll never forget if you watched if you listened, if you saw it on Sports Center, if you are here with us right now, it's one of those days that you cannot believe that this happened. When I said to you, he just homered again.
Yeah, I thought you were joking.
He has 10. You're like, shut up, get out of here. I already did the background. I'm like, no.
I thought you were joking. I had to redo it. It said 5 for 5, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs 5 minutes ago. And now look, 6 for 6, 3. And the incredible thing, like, look, I know Mark Whitten had a 12 RBI game. I know Sean Green in a Dodger uniform had a 4 home run game. What I don't know is why my face is dark when I have 17 floodlights blaring on me. But I also don't know how Ohtani does it. First of all, he didn't have a home run until the 6th inning. He hit home runs in his last 3 at-bats. So not only does he have a flair for making history, not only does he have a flair for putting up huge numbers and making this almost impossible task of hitting a round ball with a cylinder when guys are throwing it over 100 miles an hour at different angles and movements and everything else in the world, making it look easy. He also does it with a flair for the dramatic. Now, when he stayed in Southern California, Pete, and he signed with the Dodgers, leaves the Angels, goes with the Dodgers. It's Hollywood, huge Asian population. He's the biggest star in the world in baseball. Obviously a no-brainer for him. But in LA, where the Dodgers have the history of falling apart in the postseason, where the Dodgers have a history of shrinking in the biggest of moments. Remember, they won in the COVID year when no one was there and they were doing post-game interviews with plexiglass, with Bellinger, right? No crowd. The Dodgers in those big moments have faded and have folded. This guy is the franchise guy who has proven today and other days he's the guy to end all that. So if I'm a Dodger fan, big picture, I don't care half as much about the record. That's one player. I care about his ability to perform in situations like this as the year goes on and there's a pennant on the line and there's a league title on the line and there's a world title on the line. He is not only not going to shrink from these moments, he is these moments, Pete.
He does seem to thrive when there is, like I said, a flair for the dramatic. As I've pointed out, I did this breakdown about a month ago. He is better in low leverage situations than high leverage situations. And when you look at this, today is fantastic. It's remarkable. It's unbelievable. It's exciting. It is historic, but it's all low leverage because the game is not close, right? All of these things are low leverage situations. It wasn't 2-1 in the bottom of the ninth when Shohei hit one of these home runs. It was a blowout each and every time. So I look at that and I think, as I said, my belief is that when his best is needed, it will be there, to steal the John Wooden line. You know, to be great, I forget exactly how it goes. Be your best when your best is needed.
Yes.
Today his best wasn't needed, but he did show up and take advantage and have a historic afternoon there in South Florida. So
I mean, it's 20-4, Pete. It's 20. The game's still not over. It's still not over. It's 20-4. We're almost at our first break. And I mean, we're thinking the game's definitely going to end by then. There were 2 outs in the top of the ninth inning, and we're thinking, wow, there's 4 more hitters till he even gets up. And I mean, it's crazy right now. And the Marlins right now are obviously hitting, and it's the bottom of the ninth. And of course it happens against the Marlins. And of course the Marlins have actually scored 1 in the bottom of the ninth to make it 20-4. But the Dodgers in these 3 games, Pete, what is it now? 37 runs?
Yeah.
37. We talked about their offense being postseason ready. I guess we weren't kidding.
Yeah, and they gain a postseason berth with this win today. So that's
second
good news.
Team
as
in
well.
After the Yankees, right?
Right. Don't have to worry about them getting into the postseason. They can lose the rest of their 10 games and still get in, which is good to see from that perspective. A little less pressure, but they still want to win the West. So they can have that week off, even though it hasn't done well for them. Hasn't been a favorable situation over the past few years. You know, that's the goal. They need that extra time to get healthy, and hopefully they can stay hot and not lose their momentum going into the postseason. But this series coming up against the Padres after the Rockies is going to be a big series. That will have a playoff atmosphere.
A playoff atmosphere. Think about this, Pete. The Dodgers, and talk about an advantage. But the Phillies, by the way, losing right now 2-0 to the Mets, and the Padres off today. So the Dodgers lead will go to 4 over San Diego. And then Philadelphia, they're trailing by a game, and that could be evened up by the end of the day. But the huge thing for the Dodgers here, 9 of their final, 12 games? 9 of their final 12 games are against the Rockies and the Marlins, the 2 worst teams in the National League. So the scheduling at the very end of the season favoring the Dodgers. They got the harder games and the harder teams out of the way earlier in the year, and now they can at least theoretically beat up on the Rockies and Marlins and then punch their own ticket. So their home field throughout the playoffs and everything, it's all in their hands right now.
I want your read on this, Jim, after the break. What do you think it does to the Dodgers to beat up on the Marlins, to beat up on the Rockies, and then potentially lose a series to the Padres right at the end of the season? I mean, that could be devastating to them. So, these last two, yes, they have a cakewalk, except they have to face the Padres, and they have not fared well against the Padres. They've already lost the season series against the Padres. So that's a huge series. So let's just hypotheticalize, if that's a word. Let's be hypothetical about what that does to their mental state heading into the postseason if they are to lose this series to the Padres, because I don't think it's good. I want your read after the break.
All right, we will take that break now. You're watching Crossover, baby. The Crossover used to be a bad word. It used to be a negative thing, at least in hip-hop. It's a crossover show. That's right, it is. It's Locked On Dodgers postcast. It's Locked On Marlins postcast. The Dodgers 20 and the Marlins 4. This game's still going on. 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning. History for Shohei Ohtani. What does it mean for the Dodgers moving forward now that record's in the rear view, the postseason coming up, all the questions with the rotation? None with the offense, that's for sure. He's Pete Fox. I'm Jim Greasehaber. Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode of the crossover Locked On Marlins and Locked On Dodgers postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. And, of course, FanDuel, now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started, and we will be continuing on with your Locked On crossover Dodgers and Marlins postcast right after this on the Locked On Podcast Network. Whoop. There goes. Until I played the wrong thing. I don't even see it in here. I think maybe I had to upload it, but we're still learning here with the crossover a little bit, people. One thing I am not learning about that I know, and that is card collecting, right? It really is. I mean, you think about this, right? If you like collecting cards, and I know you do, Pete, we all do, right? If you think about the thought of spending $2,000 or more on a rookie card, Luka, Mahomes, any of those guys, it just isn't in the cards for guys like us, right? I mean, look, we do streams every day. I love collecting, but that's some serious cash to drop, right? Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com. Now it is possible to score gem mints for a fraction of their retail price. Every card that I listed was hit from last week's Arena Club slab pack drop. That's right. Ellie De La Cruz, Mahomes, Luka rookie cards. They were all included last week. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. Arena Club slab packs revolutionizing the repack game with transparency, and that's something that's much needed in the industry. After your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. The Arena Club grading process, it's accurate, it's fast, it's transparent, with a full grade rationale provided, an explanation of how your card was scored. So whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the card collecting platform you have to check out. And right now, here's the best part. I always love this part. You can get 10% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to thearenaclub.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB. That's arenaclub.com/LockedOnMLB. Code LockedOnMLB for 10% off your first purchase with Arena Club. Say that 5 times fast, Pete, on the Locked On Podcast Network. And I'm going to try one more. No, I'm not. I don't have any of the those little transitions in here. I have the endings, I have the intros, I have the NFL, the NBA, all the intros, the crossovers, but none of the transitions. But we don't even need a transition because we just have the visualization. There you go, Pete. That's even better. Just the visualization. Just close your eyes real quick and think of not 1, not 2, but 3 home runs off the bat of Shohei Ohtani. We had the Say Hey Kid. Now we got the Shohei Kid, and he is the first member of the 50-50 club, something Willie Mays didn't do, something Barry Bonds didn't do, something nobody has ever done before until now with Shohei Ohtani. What a day for baseball. What a day for the Dodgers and for Ohtani, Pete.
It takes a little bit of the shine off of the 30-30 club, which is kind of a big deal, you know? And then you think about the fact that Shohei's a pitcher as well. He can hit the long ball. He can hit for average. He can steal bases and he can pitch. I mean, he is a phenomenon like no other. And I've never doubted that he is that, right? People criticize that I'm not impressed. And the reason I'm not impressed is because, and I'm going to tell you a funny little story here about my 13-year-old daughter just threw at me. The reason I get frustrated with Shohei is because of days like this. I told her, I said, Brooklyn, Shohei hit his 50th home run today. And she's like, so? I said, That's a big deal. She's like, how many games do they play? I go, 162. She's like, how many have they played so far? I'm like, 152. She's like, well, he should have like 150 home runs then. And I know that's a ridiculous exaggeration, but sometimes that's how we feel because we know that a day like today is possible. So when Shohei comes up and strikes out 3 times and goes over 4, you're like, where's the guy that hits 3 home runs and has 10 RBI? I know it's an exaggeration and it is ridiculous to think that anybody could do this on a regular basis. But you know that it's possible. So I believe that it plants the seed in your head that, you know, when he goes over or he's like batting 120 over a 10-game span, you're like, oh, come on. I know what you're capable of. And you get frustrated with those periods of time. But fortunately, they are always backed up with a day like today at some point because Shohei was going to do this at some point or another. He's going to come out and have a gargantuan day. And I think this takes that to another level. I don't know what a bigger word than gargantuan is, but that's what he had today.
Well, no, it's bigger than gargantuan. It's bigger than gargantuan. So not only was it the first ever, it marked the first ever 50-50 season in Major League Baseball. We knew that he was 1 steal away from 50 when he came into the game, and he got that right away. In the first inning, he got that steal. Second time up, he got the second steal. He's at 51 already. He did not homer until the 6th inning. He hit 3 home runs in his last 3 at-bats consecutively, and it was unbelievable. I mean, 10 RBIs, Pete. So here's the thing. We're digesting this, and we're spitting it back out to you as we digest it. And I know that sounds gross, but it's all we can do right now because we're on the spot here with you, and we are ingesting history. And it's our job to share it with you, which is amazing. 50th home run, most in Dodgers history, passing Shawn Green. You guys know that. He's the first player, Pete, since 1901 with multiple homers, multiple stolen bases, and 5 hits in the same game. He's the only player ever to go 50-50. And think about this, to do it in this fashion with a game like this that nobody's ever done, to have 2 things in one day that make unprecedented history. Those are the things that make you an all-time great. Those are the things that make you a Mays, a Ruth, a Gehrig, a Bonds. Ohtani is very quickly entering that group, and he is right there.
Sure. I also think he just wrapped up the MVP award. You know, people have been talking for months that he's the MVP.
Stupid people have been doubting that. Stupid people lately have been saying that it might not be him. And stupid people have been wondering if he might not be the MVP, because anybody with a brain in their head would never have questioned his MVP candidacy one time throughout this year.
Back to the question I posed heading into the break. As I said, Dodgers with 3 against the Rockies, and then 3 against the Padres, and then I think they wrap up with 4 against the Rockies to end the season. And I said if they is it 4-3-4? Is that how it goes? Okay, so you know, obviously they're going to take care of business against the Rockies, even though they're already into the postseason. They'll probably win both of those series. They may not sweep them, but they'll take 5 of the 7, let's say. And let's just say that they are swept by the Padres, or they only win 1. The Padres will then win that series. Frank says that the Dodgers take care of business versus the Rockies. I don't exactly know what he means by take care of business. And the Padres do the same because they're facing the White Sox. All the Dodgers will need to do is win 1 game against the Padres to clinch the West. But there is.
Why are you even thinking like that as a Dodger fan? All you have to do is win 1, win all 3.
The history
is about the history.
Padres are
no one ever hit 50 home runs before, and no one ever had a 5-hit game with 10 RBIs and 3 home runs. But and all this history, how much of this history includes Shohei Ohtani?
Well, 0. But they just take the hypothetical, Jim. What does it mean, do you think, to the Dodgers psyche if the Padres are to win that series in the middle of those pushover series against the Rockies, heading into the postseason?
First of all, the Padres are not going to – they're 4 games out after today. They're not catching the Dodgers 4 games out with 11 games left and 9 games left, 4 games out with 9 games left, and they play the Dodgers 3 times and the Diamondbacks 3 times, whereas the Dodgers play the Rockies 6 times. It's not going to happen, Pete. There's no chance the Padres catch the Dodgers.
Okay,
There's no chance.
The question
I know that the question, if they beat them, what's the psyche going into the playoffs? I don't think it matters. I think
it matter a little bit because
in baseball, it doesn't matter as much. In football,
their last
it matters a lot more.
Postseason meeting, Jim, Padres won. Last year, the Dodgers lost to an inferior Diamondbacks team. So their last two postseason losses are to the Padres and the Dodgers, or the Padres and the Diamondbacks, and more than likely, they're going to face one of those two teams in that second round after the wild card round. So
that's why you got Ohtani.
To me, look, I think it's a huge series against the Padres. Not about the numbers, but about the psyche, the confidence that it creates. The Dodgers go in there and punch them in the mouth heading into the postseason. And I'm sure they're aware of this, and I'm sure they have this on their whiteboard. Let's punch the Padres right in the mouth, because that'll be a huge step in the right direction in the confidence department heading into the postseason.
Well, you have Knack and Flaherty pitching the first two games. Who's the third game? It says there's nobody listed. It'll be Knack game 1, Flaherty game 2. Buehler would get the first game of the Rockies series right after that. Yamamoto would get the last game of the Rockies series before it. So that third game, there's a hole there.
Don't know. That's a good question.
So so basically Knack pitched great. Knack just threw a great game. Knack's the only guy who got the Marlins out in this series, right? For the most part. Knack's the only guy who had a lot of success. He pitched great against Miami. So if he builds momentum. You didn't think
Flaherty pitched well today? I thought Flaherty was fine.
Flaherty was fine. He gave
2
the
home runs, 3 runs total on 5 hits. But
he wasn't as good as Knack was yesterday, is my point.
No, definitely not. He only gave up 2 hits and struck out 7. Flaherty today gave up 3 runs on 5 hits.
But if those guys are pitching okay,
hits.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that gives you a shot in those 2 games. You win. I mean, what would have to happen in this series for you to be worried about the Dodgers' psyche? What would just get dominated all 3 games?
Yes, which is conceivably possible. Or even if they lose the series, I don't think it's good for their psyche. It is what it is. They'll have to do the best they can, and then hope that if they do lose that series, that they can continue to rough up the Rockies and win the West, because that's a good spot to be in. But it's just a big series, and I feel like Dodger fans are going to be really worried about that, because the Diamondbacks are right there as well. And the Padres have prevailed. They haven't dominated, but they have prevailed over the Dodgers this year. They kind of have their number. So it is a weak spot, if you will. And the Dodgers will need to do their damnedest to win that series, because I think it will tell a lot about what's to come in the postseason. And after the break, I want to share another interesting stat with you about the Dodgers offense and what they did today and what they've done recently. That is something that we talked a little bit about yesterday. And I feel like it's something that if they can keep doing this, I think it bodes well for them in the postseason.
All right. Well, Pete's going to have that on the other side. Locked On Marlins, Locked On Dodgers postcast crossover here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's Grease. It's Pete. Thanking you for making us your first watch/listen. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Plus here on YouTube, Locked On Sports Miami, Locked On Sports Los Angeles, your team every day. How would you feel if you had 10 RBIs and you were only responsible for half the runs your team scored? Poor Shohei Ohtani. We're going to wrap it up on the other side. I'm going to try something here, Pete, see if it works on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Nope, it didn't work.
It didn't work.
We tried. Here, we'll just do it your way.
Today's episode of the Locked On Dodgers and Locked On Marlins postcast is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. They've got something special going on for you to the end of September, well, sort of the end of September. September 22nd is when this deal comes to an end. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And if you've never had NFL Sunday Ticket, you are missing out, because it is a lot of fun. It is a plate full of football. Then with YouTube TV and their base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com to get this thing rolling. Again, FanDuel.com, and download America's #1 sportsbook.
There we go. And the transition. Look at the numbers just spiked while you were doing that spot. Who knew? All we need to do, we don't need Ohtani hitting home runs. We don't need him making history. We just need Pete Fox doing commercials, and our numbers go through the roof. Just like Shohei's batting. Is his average over 300 now? Did he? I mean, did 6 for 6 put him over? Where he's at like 290? What's he? 292, 293, something like that.
294.
So imagine he hits 300.
His OPS is back over 1,000, which is remarkable. A couple of comments here. BC says Dodgers owned the Padres in 2022 during the regular season and still lost in October. Frank says psyche doesn't matter. All I was trying to illustrate is that San Diego series is not a big deal because the Dodgers have the West in the bag. I don't know. You know, it's a good point, but it
matters if they play head to head. It might matter.
That would be rationalizing it to me. If the Dodgers pretty much have it wrapped up at that point and they come in and the Padres punch them in the mouth, all you're going to hear is silver lining. Oh, we got it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Meanwhile, the Padres are just filled with confidence because they're like, look, we'll beat the Diamondbacks and then we'll beat the Dodgers. So I just hope they go into that series with the right amount of focus on that series and say, look, this means more than just winning the West or winning this series. This is a statement series for them. And I don't mean to be looking forward that much, but look, that's all we have at this point. The Rockies series are not necessarily going to be a big deal. Anything's possible, of course, but the Dodgers and Padres series to wrap up this season is a big deal. And they cannot just sleepwalk through that series. Here's the stat I was telling you about, which is remarkable. Today, the 5th consecutive game for the Dodgers with a 4-run or more inning, and they did it 3 times today.
37 runs,
6 runs, and 5 runs. So if they keep that up, that's a great place to be. But something you brought up yesterday, Oral Hershiser brought up today, and he commented on the fact that he thinks the Dodgers, because Joe Davis mentioned he feels like the Dodgers offense is good enough, like you believe, to prop up the pitching staff if they have a bad day, a bad outing, if you will. Oral disagreed. Oral's thought was, I feel like the Dodger offense can do that, prop them up, win a game with bad pitching, maybe once in a series, but not night after night. You cannot put that much pressure on the offense to score, double-digit runs because the pitching staff cannot get the opposition out. So something we talked about, I tend to agree with Oral. I think they have that ability to do it, but you cannot rely on that by any stretch of the imagination. To look at a football team, a football analogy, you cannot outscore a good defense. You can't beat good teams, by simply outscoring them when you have no defense. And I think the same holds true in baseball occasionally, but not on a regular basis.
No, and if you run into a guy like you know what I mean? So it's you run into one of the top tier pitchers in Major League Baseball, you're going to get shut down. And you're going to have games in the postseason that you have to win 3-1 or 4-2 or what have you. And that's the question. Can the Dodgers win those games? Do they have the starting pitching? Do they have the bullpen? The bullpen's been overused, overtaxed. A lot of those guys won't be on the postseason roster. It's going to get very condensed. Starters will throw more innings, and who knows what that's going to look like for the Dodgers now, because Knack pitched himself into that conversation, and Buehler's right there, and you have Buehler ahead of Knack, and you talk about Yamamoto and Flaherty with Tyler out now, and if you had Tyler, that'd be they'd be the favorites, but will they be now without him? And those pitchers they have in Philadelphia, and we know how much that matters. But with this offense right now, 37 runs in 3 games against Miami. And then the 2 games before that, they hung 9 spots on the Braves. So you're talking about literally 55 runs in 5 games, 11 runs a game for this team. And it's incredible. And one of them's a 20-run game, but still, you got the 2 9 spots, you got the 8 spot. This team will score runs in bunches, but will they be able to win those close, even like the 9-8 games? How many times do we see in the postseason, Pete, where the starters get ripped and it's like 6-5 at the end of 3 innings and it's still 6-5 in the 9th and you're winning a battle of bullpens? Can the Dodgers win those games? That's the question. Until they prove that they can, it doesn't matter if it's the Padres, the Phillies, the Brewers, whoever they play. It doesn't matter. They're going to have to prove they can win those games if they're going to win it all this year. And make no mistake about it, you know this, and you guys in the chat know this too. If you don't at least go to the World Series, this year's a failure. It doesn't matter how many home runs Ohtani hit. It doesn't matter if you won the division or not. If you don't at least make the World Series, it's a failure.
Fair point. I totally agree. There is a high expectation on this team without a doubt. Good news for the Dodger reliever who won't be a part of the roster, Logie or Luge or whatever his name is. He lowered his ERA from infinity to 18 with a performance.
I thought you were going to say he went from infinity to beyond. That would have been perfect.
He's back into this universe, going 2 innings, giving up 1 run on 3 hits. Now just an 18 ERA. So that's nice to see. Nice. Dodgers popping corks reportedly in the clubhouse there at Lone Depot. That's another.
Somebody is.
That's a funny thing about baseball. I don't agree with. I've been a part of it. I don't know if you have. I've been a part of 2 or 3 champagne celebrations, one with the Angels, a couple with the Dodgers. It is very cool for us, right, to kind of witness and just be there and enjoy and absorb, even though we didn't have anything to do with it other than to watch it and cover it. But when you're in there as a reporter and you're covering, you're getting soaked, and everyone's in the best mood ever, and they ingratiate themselves to you and welcome you into the party, which is always nice because they're in such great mood. So it's a very cool experience to be a part of. But I do think it is weird that they are the only sport that celebrate after every round of the postseason. Every round of the postseason, whether it's getting into the postseason or winning the wild card or winning the NL. What's the first round? The NLDS and then the NLCS.
Yes.
Celebrate with champagne after every round. No other sport does that.
What's wrong with that?
It's bizarre. I think it's over the top. I was told when I asked somebody, I believe it was with the Dodgers, why that's been the tradition over the years. And the answer was because the regular season of baseball is so long.
Yeah.
That when they clinch and they get into the postseason, they want to celebrate. I get that. But you shouldn't be celebrating after the wild card. Could you imagine a hockey team celebrating after they win the first round of the playoffs?
Well, the Dodgers shouldn't be celebrating anything because they do this every year.
Well,
there's nothing to celebrate yet.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
But there is to celebrate Ohtani. I mean, he should be walking through the locker. They should be holding the bats up over his head and walking. They got to do something, Pete, for that.
That is a fortunate occurrence or coincidence that he had the 50th home run and the 50th stolen base on the same day that they clinched a postseason berth. So that's kind of cool.
So maybe it just speaks to the bigger point, which is Ohtani is here to reverse everything that's been going wrong in Dodger land these past few years. And until he does it in the playoffs, I mean, look, if today's the biggest takeaway from this game, look, I'm a Dodger fan. I love history. I love looking back because as a Dodger fan, you are history. Your organization, your franchise is right there with the Yankees in terms of the history of Major League Baseball. And when an organization that is so steeped in history, that's been to so many World Series, the Dodger blue is written across the history books. And you know this, it'll never be erased. It is the history of baseball in so many ways. For Ohtani to be able to add to that in the ways that he has, in the way that he did today, is incredible. And for Dodger fans, I love the history. I'm a Yankee fan, okay? So I'm going to tell you to hold your horses, and we'll see you in October or maybe November. Who knows? But what I'll say is, for the Dodgers, I'm taking away one thing if I'm a Dodger fan. That is that when the moment was the biggest, when the pressure was the highest, is he pressing? Is he trying to hit home runs? What's he doing? Ohtani rose to the highest of heights when the lights are the brightest. And if he does that throughout the postseason, there's going to be a lot of guys walking around wearing rings because of it. And
final thought here.
That's my final thought is that on Ohtani.
I have to address Frank real quick. How exactly do the Dodgers clinch a playoff spot? Can't the Mets, D-backs, and Padres still finish with more wins than them in theory? I don't know the answer to that question, Frank, but I do know this. Joe Davis said it during the broadcast, and when I look on ESPN, there is a Z next to their name.
Yeah.
So the Z indicates that they have clinched a playoff spot.
People smarter than us have told us that it is
right,
so.
Exactly. Guys that get paid to do stats said they clinched a playoff spot, so they clinched a playoff spot. I don't know exactly. What do they got? 10 more games, and they're 4 games up. Yeah, I don't know either, but that's what they said, so I believe them. And we have 2 sources saying the Dodgers have clinched. So there you go. 20-4 the final. Win number 91 for the boys in blue.
91 and loss number 96 for the Marlins when you have more losses than the Dodgers have wins. And, I haven't said anything about the Marlins on this show, Pete, because there's really not a whole heck of a lot worth saying. Jake Berger hit a home run today.
Berger hit a home run. The highlight of the game.
Cortez hit one too. They lost 20-4. No one on your team deserves to get talked about. and you accomplished nothing when you lost 20-4, regardless of what else happened. So the whole show's been about the Dodgers with good reason.
All right, buddy. Well, it's been a blast. I appreciate your positivity as we sprint towards the finish line here and try to get in this postseason and get this thing done. So I guess at times I can be a naysayer just because of the way the last few years have gone. But yeah, we didn't have Shohei Ohtani those last few years. So hopefully that is a difference maker.
All right, and real quick, just move your head to the left for all the San Diego fans out there so they can just get a glimpse. There you go. How do you like that, San Diego? Los Angeles Chargers. I said it, not you, Pete. 20-4.
Check out the view out my window.
Oh, nice. Beautiful, beautiful. That's Pete Fox. I'm Jim Greasehaber at Jim Grease _. It's the Locked On Dodgers, Locked On Marlins postcast. And it is the crossover. And one more time, thank you for being with us here today. For your second watch/listen, check out our guy, Sully. He's got it covered every single day with Locked On MLB. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. For the Dodgers, they go on and face Colorado. For the Marlins, oh, who the heck cares? They're going to lose to whoever they play anyway. I mean, I might just be keeping it real here. Who cares who they play next? You'll find out when you come watch tomorrow on your Locked On Marlins postcast. Isn't that great analysis? We will be back tomorrow, each of us separately. Pete, always great working with you, my friend. Until next time, Marlins fans, keep your game tight and your mind right. We are out of here.
Have a good one.